They've been the sports cars that have changed the way people drive. If you look at some of the early adverts for MG cars, you know, one of the strap lines of MG cars in the old days was, "Your mother wouldn't like it." Not really politically correct these days.
This iconic British brand has defined its greatness through its legacy. Spanning almost 10 decades and sailing through various hardships, MG has always come out a winner. Having survived a merciless world war, multiple changes of ownership, and a tragic shutdown of their biggest factory in Abingdon, the brand has battled all demons head-on and travelled heroically through time. Known for sturdy, fast machines, MGs are now produced in China under the world's leading car manufacturer, SAIC. With its intensive production unit and thousands of cars underway, MG is bound to conquer the hearts and minds of car enthusiasts all over the world. To rewind a little, let's throw some light on the birth of an icon.
When William Morris started his business, which was Morris Garages, in 1910, which was to hire and sell cars. And when he started making cars in 1913, he kept the business. In 1921, Cecil Kimber was asked by William Morris specifically because of his capabilities to join Morris Garages.
Cecil Kimber, he was a visionary. He designed the first MGs, and right from the word go, he was very keen that everybody in the world should experience the magic of driving an MG.
Kimber went out with some ideas. He took basically a Morris Oxford chassis and did some modifications to it, modified the steering to make it a bit better, put a bit more energy into the engine, shall we say. Also, he made the brakes better, all the sort of things that you would look for in a sporting version of a Morris car. And he then got the special bodies built, and then what badge was it going to have on it? Well, it would have a Morris Garages badge on it. But by that time, Morris Garages had come up with this iconic label, which was the letters M and G in an octagon. And he thought, well, that would be a good thing to put on the front of the car. And from that point on, a Morris Garages special became an MG.
Soon MGs became the talk of the town. Cecil Kimber created a product that appealed to all generations, and having an MG in your garage became a style statement. Every other person was driving an MG on the roads.
MG as a brand has been around since 1924, and it's changed considerably in that time. It was born as a special variant of Morris cars. They were a tuned performance version of Morris cars, and they quickly became very successful and very quickly became its own brand in its own right. And in 1929 moved to Abingdon and opened its own factory here in Abingdon.
The success of MG, I think, is because it was made of parts from a much bigger manufacturer, William Morris. That's how they started. Kimber went along to Morris and thought, well, I could take this part, I could take that part, and put them together in a whole new package. No longer a Morris, but an MG, a much faster, much more interesting car to own. And that has been the story all along. Each owner of MG over the years has always been a much bigger manufacturer and has bigger engineering resources so that they can make sure the parts that go into the car are extremely good quality and well made.
But as the dark clouds of World War II cast over Britain, MG took one of the worst hits as all car production was put on hold.
All car production stopped at that point, but the factory carried on making parts for aircraft, parts for tanks and all the other paraphernalia of war. And they were very thankful that by 1945 the war situation had been sorted out and they were able to get back to making sports cars again. So they took the pre-war car, updated it slightly, put it back into production, and it was at this point that the Americans started to show a bit of interest in the cars.
As the years went past, MG started producing cars out of Abingdon, which soon became a town where most of the people either worked in an MG factory or knew someone who did. Over the years, MG became synonymous with sports cars, and as demands increased, the engines fired in Abingdon, and more MGs were produced and supplied all over the world. But destiny had some other plans in the dawn of 1980s.
They were celebrating the 50th anniversary of the factory at Abingdon in 1979, and they had a great parade through the town, and all the employees were there, and all the employees were on the floats and celebrating the golden anniversary of the MG car company in Abingdon. And come Monday morning, this celebration was on the Sunday, one of the directors from British Leyland came to the factory and announced that the factory would be closing.
Probably some of the hardest events that have happened in MG's past were the closure of the Abingdon factory in 1980, which a lot of people thought would be the end of MG. It wasn't, thankfully. 2 years later, MG was back with the MG Metro, and production carried on at Longbridge and at Cowley in Oxford for many, many years. Ultimately, MG Rover, which was the last British-owned major manufacturer, collapsed in 2005, and a lot of people were very, very upset and thought that at long last MG had died. Luckily for us, it was bought by SIAC, and the brand was able to relaunch with the MG6 and the MG3.
Very few brands could boast of stability after suffering many stop blocks during the course of its existence. But after swimming through rough waters, MG is now looking at a very bright future with SAIC. A new production unit is being established in the Indian state of Gujarat. This modern production line will be catering to the rapidly growing Indian and South Asian markets.
When you have the global ambition, India is going to play a very important role because, as you know, right now we are the 4th largest globally, India as a market, but it's going to be the 3rd largest hopefully by 2020. So our MG plant in Baroda Halol right now is going through a huge expansion. There is a new press shop, there is a new vendor park, we are also renovating the paint shop. The other body shops are going to be new as per the MG DNA.
With the future looking bright, MG is planning to again dominate the markets, but mostly grow its family and have its legacy reach millions, so many get a peek inside the warm community of MG.